Hello there, welcome to Friday's ESPN FC Live. I'm Mark Donaldson, delighted to be alongside Rob Dawson and one of the most famous people ever to come out of Venezuela, Ali Moreno, who, after yesterday's fine 0-0 draw at home with Ecuador, has once again decided to show some Vino Tinto love and still in those automatic playoff spots, Ali. So a place at the World Cup in 2026. You're not going to throw it away now, are you?
No, and you failed to mention above Brazil currently in the standings. Not tied, above Brazil in the standings. I don't know how long that's going to last, but until somehow the dream comes to an end, this jersey's staying on.
How do we segue from the World Cup in 2026 to Harry Maguire, Rob Dawson? How about a plug for your article?
Unlikely stories. Maguire's comeback at Man United is probably something that many people didn't really expect. It's along similar lines, I guess.
Okay, we will talk and we will promote your article about Harry Maguire. And will it last? Harry Maguire back in the Man United side, but will he stay there? We'll have an exclusive as well with the England striker, Harry Kane, who's been asked 20 questions by ESPN FC. And we'll be joined later by Sophie Lawson to preview El Clasico, the women's Clasico between Barcelona and Real Madrid this weekend on Sunday as the top two go head-to-head. But we're going to start with Harry Maguire and looking ahead to his future at Old Trafford. Because, Rob, in the summer, we saw Johnny Evans, who was training with the team. There was a spell where it wouldn't have been a big surprise because if Gary Pallister and Steve Bruce had been fit, they might have played ahead of Harry Maguire. So how has he got himself into the team again? And how has he stayed there, and will it last?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. In the summer, it looked at one stage that it was going to be very likely that Maguire was going to move on. I think United even accepted a bid from West Ham. So that shows you how close it was to him leaving the club. But fast forward a couple of months and he is back being first choice at centre-back. He started the last 8 games. He hasn't had a run like that at United since the end of 2021, which tells you how long it's been. I mean, the reason he's back is a combination of a couple of things, really. One is injuries. Obviously, Lisandro Martinez is out and he's going to be out until the new year, probably certainly until after Christmas. And the other thing is that I think Harry Maguire is finally understanding what Ten Hag wants from him. That it was interesting a couple of weeks ago that a question was asked in a press conference about Harry Maguire. And Ten Hag, instead of just saying, I'm happy with the way he's playing and kind of moving on to the next question, gave a little bit of a more detailed answer and kind of explained that Maguire was learning when to step into midfield, when to hang back a little bit. He was reading the game better. He was choosing his moments to spray those long passes forward. He was keeping it simple on different occasions. So I think a combination of him having an opportunity because of injuries, but also him sort of starting to take on board Ten Hag's instructions have helped him get back in the team. And you've got a situation now where United have got a really critical run of games after the international break. And as things stand, Harry Maguire is going to be one of the first names on the team sheet, which, if you look back at just a couple of months, it would have been hard to imagine.
Ali, what does that tell us about Manchester United in general, that right now Harry Maguire is one of the first names on the team sheet?
And I just don't think you can have this conversation without providing that context, that while we like to think that Harry Maguire has been better than what he had been in the past, that bar was very low. But as it pertains to the comparison to what he has been in regards to his teammates and in regards to Manchester United in general, I think that's what paints a very clear picture here, is that, yes, Harry Maguire has improved his level, but when you have people around you that have been awful, if you come anywhere near close to a decent level of play, you're going to stand out. And that's, I think, where Harry Maguire is. I don't think he is back to his best. I don't think he's back to being a great defender. I just think you put things together. He has improved his level. He's a little bit more confident, feeling out a little bit better about himself and his place in the team. And then you compare that to everybody else in Manchester United, and he's going to stand out, and he's going to stand out in a positive way. So then that, I think, spins it forward to the second part of the question. Will it last? Can it last? I suppose it can. I just think that we need to see more consistency from Harry Maguire in the next few games as we spin it forward and we start to think and project as to what Manchester United is going to be. We cannot evaluate this team and Harry Maguire and ignore, just because he has had a few good games, ignore Copenhagen and the debacle that was defensively. And he is part of the defensive core group of this team. And so there's still signs there that he's not quite to the level that he needs to be. But again, in the context of everybody else in Manchester United, well, yeah, he's flying. Yeah, sure, Harry, you look great.
When he's at his best, if he recaptures, Rob, the form that saw Manchester United make him the world's most expensive defender, 5 million more than Virgil van Dijk when he signed from Leicester in August 2019. If he recaptures that form, but everyone else is fit, all the defenders, Luke Shaw, Lindelof, Martinez, Varane, everybody's fit. Where's Harry Maguire's place in the pecking order as far as central defenders is concerned at Old Trafford?
And that is the key question. That one of the things that Ten Hag has said in press conferences, that it's not necessarily the individual talents of his centre-backs, but he very much likes the way that they form partnerships. And he said one of the reasons before the Luton game was that he couldn't play, or he didn't feel he could play Maguire and Varane together, was because he didn't think as a partnership they worked very well. So immediately then people start jumping on it and saying, well, Varane's not playing. That must mean that Ten Hag thinks that Varane isn't as good a player as Harry Maguire. And that's probably not quite it. That it's to do with how that partnership is formed and how they play together. And we saw last season that Ten Hag, more often than not, liked to have Varane as the right-sided centre-back and Lisandro Martinez on the left. Obviously, at the moment, Martinez is injured, but eventually he's going to come back. And so is it a case that when he does come back, that Ten Hag is going to go back to his tried and trusted partnership from last season and have Martinez and Varane back together again? I think that's probably what is going to happen. I still don't think that Harry Maguire is particularly a Ten Hag player. I think that he's back in the team at the moment because of a certain set of circumstances. But if you were to get Ten Hag on this show and say, that Man United squad, pick your best 11 players, I'm pretty sure that he would pick Rafael Varane and Lisandro Martinez at centre-back. Obviously, it remains to be seen. Martinez is still sidelined, and we won't know until probably the new year what's going to happen with that. But right now, I would suggest that Ten Hag still thinks it's Varane and Martinez as his preferred choice, with Harry Maguire probably sat on the bench.
We've got 3 videos that we're going to show you on ESPN FC Live today. I'm going to have a disclaimer ahead of the first one. Long before Ali and myself joined ESPN, you used to get a rate at ESPN per thing that you did, per usage. Now it's just a day rate. So the reason I'm saying that, Rob, is because you appear in this video. It's a discussion with Alexis Nunes and Mark Ogden about the £1 billion that Manchester United have spent. So before you type away during the playing of this video that you want another usage today, this counts and you don't get double paid for it. So where does Harry Maguire compare among the players signed that have cost in total $1 billion since 2018? Let's take a listen.
Rob, sorry, this one falls on you because this is probably going to be the most discussed one. Harry Maguire, 87 million. We're not forgetting that price tag anytime soon. Of course, players don't have, any say in their price tag, but what do you think about this one?
Yeah, you're right. It's important to say at this point that the players don't decide their price tags, but he is the most expensive defender in the history of football, and with it becomes a certain level of expectation. He's not met it, in my opinion. He was very, very close to leaving in the summer for 30 million, which would have been a massive loss in terms of the fee that United paid. I would say at best, it's average, but it's bordering on bad.
Okay, let me just let you chime in on this one, because I know you answer. What do you think? Average, at best, but borderline bad?
I think he's been average, Harry Maguire. I think people forget how much of I won't say a good player was in his first couple of years, but he did have an impact in his first couple of seasons, and it just went bad the last 18 months. So I think the last 18 months have been bad, bordering on shocker. But I think generally, overall, he's been average. And I think he's beginning to bounce back this season in the sense that he is becoming a bit of a leader again. So maybe losing the captaincy has put him on course to be average, which isn't saying a lot, but that's where we're at.
Okay, 31 transfers since 2018, and all are discussed in depth at ESPN FC on YouTube. Any surprises in there?
No. I think that United fans, if they're asked to rate the 31 signings that they've seen since 2018 will know that the bulk of them have just not been good enough. I think that probably the biggest surprise is that we found one that was great and a couple that were good. The recruitment of players since 2018 and probably over the last decade has been really, really poor. And that's why Man United are in the mess that they're in right now. I mean, it's all very well we're talking about Harry Maguire and a little bit of a mini resurgence for him. But the team are still struggling. They're struggling in the Champions League group. They're struggling to qualify for the Champions League next year. The reason behind that is poor recruitment.
Ali, do you think anything will be different now that Jim Ratcliffe's coming in with his 25% stake? He's getting rid of the CEO. They've employed on an interim basis the person who was involved in getting Ratcliffe's deal with the Glazers over the line. When it comes to recruitment and other things, do we see much of a difference short term ahead of this January transfer window, do you reckon?
Well, first of all, just going back to that video, there were a lot of backhanded compliments there for Harry Maguire. There was a lot of sort of, all right, he's been great, but average. Look, I think whenever there is a shakeup in ownership and there is a change, the incoming person is going to want to put their input and their hands all over the club. And whatever organization that you're taking over, you feel like you need to have an impact. Now, from what we hear from guys like Rob and Mark Ogden is that while the concerning parts about Manchester United is what we get to see on the field, there is also a need to update the infrastructure of the club. And so then that I think it's a decision that you need to make. What do you address first? And what long-term is going to help you to actually become the club that you want to become and go back to the level of success that you've had in the past? And you have to have the right infrastructure of the club. You have to be able to have building blocks. And then once you have building blocks, then you can concern yourself about the recruitment of players. If you don't have the right infrastructure, then we go into this conversation of £1 billion and most of it is being thrown away. You don't want to go down that path again. So if I were anybody who's coming into this club with a whole bunch of money and saying, okay, I am now a decision maker of this club or part of the decision-making group, this is what I want and this is what I think is a priority. Infrastructure of the club, then we concern ourselves with the recruitment of players.
Rob, is one of the issues here as well, not that when you sign someone like Harry Maguire, and as you say in the video, and you've said it before, it's not his fault. He doesn't decide the amount that is paid for him. But commensurate to that, you do have the wages of someone who you've just spent 80 million on. So West Ham might have wanted him, but he might not want to have gone, or they couldn't have afforded him. So is it a case of they need to get players out before they can get players in January, or does the investment from Jim Ratcliffe mean that they can spend even more when it comes to the January transfer window?
No, I mean, they tried to spend more in the summer and were restricted by the financial fair play concerns that they had. And that will still be true in a January transfer window. So unless there is relatively major outgoings from the squad, they won't be able to do an awful lot in terms of bringing players in. I mean, there's obviously still room for manoeuvre, and maybe you could sign a loan player here, or do a short-term deal to the end of the season, so that there are options for United in January. But if fans are expecting some big sort of overhaul in Jim Ratcliffe's first transfer window, then they're mistaken. That's just not going to happen. The other issue that's tied to this is that we get sort of caught up in talking about Jim Ratcliffe as the new guy who's going to sort of oversee this massive overhaul. Well, it has to be remembered that he's only buying 25%. That the Glazers are still going to be majority owners. So the first key question that needs to be answered is how much influence Jim Ratcliffe is going to have, and how's that going to look inside the club. He wants to take over part of the sporting side. He wants to put his own guys in to oversee recruitment, because one of the reasons why he's there at all is because he's got such a dim view of the way that United have spent money over the last 10 years. But it's really kind of an unprecedented situation that you've got a minority stakeholder almost calling some of the shots. So until we really know how this is all going to work out, it's very, very hard to distinguish what the future of Man United is going to look like. I think at the moment, United fans are quite disappointed that they're not having a fresh start. They wanted new owners. They wanted this huge investment to come in. Initially, that's not going to happen. For them, though, that this is almost like a glimmer of hope, and not much more than that. A glimmer of hope that this is a fresh start for Man United, that further down the line, maybe the Glazers will be bought out in their entirety, and there can be a fresh start with fresh people at all levels of the club, and they can start, acting as big a club as they certainly think they are. Because for the last 10 years, United like to think that they're sit alongside Real Madrid and Barcelona and Bayern Munich. That's just not true. They're nowhere near the level of those clubs, and really they should be. And that's what this investment from Jim Ratcliffe is a start of. It should be the start of Man United realising that potential that they have.
Yeah, that's a good point, because one of the key things that's been a problem at Manchester United and Chelsea to an extent hasn't been the money. It's been who's identifying the talent, because a lot of them are getting it very wrong. Rob, thank you. Enjoy Stockport this weekend. A little change from the norm for you. You looking forward to that?
Of course. Mighty Stockport flying in League Two.
There's your plug. We will see you again next week. ESPN FC's Rob Dawson. And remember, that article on Harry Maguire is available at espn.com. Back with Ali and me shortly. However, in the meantime, for the next few minutes, ESPN FC's taken itself off to Germany. And we've had an exclusive sit-down with Harry Kane. And as part of that, we asked him 20 questions. Let's take a listen.
Oh, wow.
Well, this one's a bit weird.
I'm sure he'd be able to give me a few assists. He is pretty much English. Oh, what a question that is.
This is 20 questions with Harry Kane. So, make some noise in there, surely.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So I've got 20 questions here for you. Let's get straight into it. You ready?
Let's do it. Come on.
A player you would have liked to play alongside?
I mean, I'd love to play with Messi. I think, his game understanding, his vision, his passing. One of the greatest players to ever play our game, so I'm sure he'd be able to give me a few assists.
Yeah, no, for sure. Who was your boyhood hero?
David Beckham. Loved David Beckham. We was from the same area, we went to the same school. Obviously, he was England captain when I was growing up, so I used to love watching him play.
Were there any strikers that were like your boyhood heroes?
I had Sheringham, I had Shearer, obviously Rooney when I got kind of early teens, so I was lucky enough to play with Wazza as well, which was pretty special. Van Nistelrooy was another one I loved watching, so some good players.
Who would play you in a movie?
Do you know what? I've had the Ryan Gosling shout a couple of times.
Honestly, ask my producer what I said to him. I said Ryan Gosling or Ryan Reynolds.
Maybe,
whoever does the British accent better.
I mean, I'll take either of them.
What's been the best performance of your career so far?
Maybe in the European Championships, quarter-final against Ukraine. Scored 2 goals, and I mean, any knockout game in a major tournament for England is a high pressure situation, but to score 2 and just the whole game in general, I felt like I played pretty well. So that one probably sticks out.
What are the key stats you look for after a game?
How far kilometres I've run, how many sprints I've made in a game.
Does it get a bit competitive with the boys, like sprints?
If I'm a striker and I've run further than one of the midfielders or something, I'm like, how's that possible?
That's a fine. That is definitely a fine.
Exactly. So for sure we have a bit of fun with it.
Who do you reckon is the fastest player you played with?
Oh,
you were mentioning earlier Alfonso, Carl Walker.
I think Carl Walker for me is probably the fastest. I put Carl as the fastest, but I would love to see that race for sure.
What moment in sport, outside of your career, gives you goosebumps?
I think it was 2012 Ryder Cup. Europe come back against America at Medina, and that winning putt I think Martin Keimer made, that was a special moment to win, to have like a 5-6 foot putt. I'm a big golf fan anyway. That must have been some huge pressure, and to hold that and make the comeback for Team Europe was amazing.
Favourite sports person outside of football?
Tom Brady. I've been a big Tom Brady fan. Just loved the way he went about his career, the way he played, the way he trained, the way he pushed people around him and pushed himself until what did he retire at 45?
Your favourite sports documentary?
Brady had one, the Brady Six, just about his early career and the 6 quarterbacks that were picked before him in the draft. So that was probably the biggest one in terms of it helped shape maybe my mentality, my career in a way. Watching that gave me a lot more self-belief in myself. But I mean, Michael Jordan's one.
The Last Dance.
Yeah, Last
Honestly,
Dance.
After that documentary, I was in the gym every day for 6 months.
Yeah, it's just, I think obviously everyone appreciates Michael Jordan and how good he was, but just seeing the documentary, seeing some of the old footage, some of his teammates talking, him talking, that was, as a proper documentary, that was the best.
If you could meet one sports person, past, present, who would it be?
Yeah, Michael Jordan would be on that list, just to, after seeing a documentary, seeing his career, just to talk and see how he handled situations, pressure, etc. would be great to find out.
What's the best Christmas present you've ever received?
Off the top of my head, I can't really think, but it would have been something to do with football when I was younger, for sure.
What about worst?
I think I got a guitar one Christmas. I wasn't expecting it, and then it was like, oh yeah, it's amazing, but I'm probably never gonna. I never did use it, to be honest.
Best defender you've ever faced?
I faced John Terry early in my career, and I thought he was, the reason he was one of the best defenders in the world. Really smart, really intelligent. Chiellini, against Italy, against Juve, was really tough to play against. Again, really smart, used his body well, strong, good in the air.
One German footballer you wish was English?
I'm playing with Jamal Musiala at the moment, and he is pretty much English, but he obviously chose to play for Germany, so incredible player, great guy as well. So young, got so much talent, so would have liked it if he picked England rather than Germany.
Which teammate would you not like to sit next to on a long haul flight? Who's a snorer?
I'm going to put Eric Dyer in there. Eric Dyer just sleeps anywhere.
No conversation.
No conversation from him. He'll probably sleep the whole 12 hours, whatever the flight is. So sorry, Eric, but I need a bit more from you.
Biggest prankster at Bayern and England?
Biggest prankster at Bayern, I'd probably say Serge Gnabry. In my short time there, he's probably the one who's welcomed me in the best ways possible. A few pranks here and there. So
no way, I don't get that kind of vibe from him. He looks quite serious.
No. He's got a good jokey side to him. So no, really good guy. Maybe someone like Madders.
They put like a glass of water, a bottle of water at Demarai Gray's door.
And I see that when he was at Leicester.
Locked out. Yeah.
So I'll probably put Madders in there, a bit cheeky like that. Yeah.
What was the last song that got stuck in your head?
Recently, Big 7 from Burna Boy.
Yeah. Oh, do you know what? I saw a video of you singing some Burna Boy in the changing room back at Tottenham.
Yeah, I do like Burna Boy, to be fair.
A musician you'd like to see live? I have seen Burna Boy live at Afro Nation in Miami. 10 out of 10.
Really, yeah.
Honestly.
I saw Adele and I thought Adele was incredible live. Yeah, maybe someone like Burna Boy or Dave. I haven't seen them live, so that'd be good.
What would you rather learn? How to play a piano, perform magic, or paint?
Oh, what a question that is. I would probably say piano. Being able to switch off, play a bit of music on the piano, etc. Yeah, I think I'd enjoy that, so I'd choose piano.
What would be your walkout music if you're a boxer? Burna Boy.
Burna Boy, yeah, Big 7. Maybe something like Mr. Brightside, just to get the fans going, get the energy in the stadium.
You need that support for sure.
So yeah, Mr. Brightside.
3 teammates you love to see on I'm a Celebrity.
James Maddison would, I think he'd be good value for.
He might win.
Yeah, I think he would actually. He's got great personality. Kieran Trippier, again, just good bit of banter with him. Would love to see him in some of them challenges struggling. I'll go with Fonzo Davis. I'd like to see him.
He's fun as well.
Yeah, I'd like to see him in some of them eating challenges or something like that. See how he gets on.
Last one. Top 3 biscuits to dunk in a cup of tea.
Number 1, chocolate hobnobs. Number 2, custard creams. Number 3, I think I'm just going to go chocolate digestive.
Yeah, classic.
You like that?
Yeah, I love them. Hobnobs as well. I don't like custard creams though.
No?
So, nah, they'd be safe. I wouldn't be nicking them from you.
It's a controversial choice to go with the chocolate digestive in 3 and the chocolate hobnob in 1. I've got one question to Ali Moreno about Harry Kane. Back in March, in an interview with Good Morning America, he said he would like to be an NFL kicker one day. So the question to you, Mr. Moreno, is simple. Not where does Harry Kane end his career? Is it Bayern? Is it Premier League? Whatever it is. Does Harry Kane end his sporting career as a football player? Our football or an NFL player? What do you reckon?
Not an NFL player. See, that's all good and well to talk about being an NFL player until you get hit. Then you get hit and then you realize, oh no, this is not for me. No. He'll be playing our football, not American football, not NFL, nowhere near that. Nope. That's not happening.
Okay, before we bring in our next guest, we're going to go over to an interview that was done just a few days ago with the Barcelona women's head coach, because there's a big game coming up this weekend. It's El Clasico on Sunday morning. Barcelona against Real Madrid, the top two in the table. There's only 3 points separating them. So Alexis Nunes has been catching up with the Barca coach. Let's listen what was said.
You get to work with some of the best players in the world, and probably the best group of players in the world that we see, because, you know, people thinking that you get to go to work every day and work alongside the likes of Alexis Nunes, you get Aitana, but then you also have a mix of foreign players too, like a Lucy Bronze, a Kira Walsh, you know, who we know very well in the UK. It's almost like going into a garage and getting to work with Rolls Royces, Maseratis, Mercedes, everything, you know. That must be fun for you, isn't it? Like, what's it like to just see the talent, and what is it about, I suppose, the DNA at Barcelona that tends to bring out the best in players?
Look, if you watch our games, every game we play with different players. That is very, very difficult. If you make 5, 6, 7 substitutions every game, our performance almost always is really, really high. This is one of the most important things, because our model of the game is very clear, but it doesn't matter who is playing. The most important thing is what you are showing to the supporters. So what we get together, working together, is try to be the best team, not the best starting 11 players. Because when you get the final of the season, the end of the season, you get it if you have a group. You have 15, 16, 17 players that they have to be ready to compete at the high level. It doesn't matter the game they have to play. They have to be ready to compete this kind of games. But of course, I come to choose Mercedes or Maserati every day.
Rolls Royce.
For me, it's really, really funny. Because during the training session I enjoy a lot, and when we are playing every game, I am enjoying a lot, because I know I have the best players in the world.
We welcome in Sophie Lawson. And Sophie, I want to take you back to May last year. I was commentating on Barcelona Real Madrid in the Copa del Reina semi-final. Barca won it by 4-0. Has the gap closed between Barca and Real Madrid in those 18 months since?
Yes and no. There are, I think one of the biggest problems Real have in terms of, sort of closing down Barcelona is their inconsistencies, because before that game, they've taken Barca to extra time in the Supercopa. They actually lost in stoppage time with the previous season's Supercopa. They played a very good game when they first met them in the Champions League a couple of years ago. So they've had these really good games, and then they just seem to kind of fall into the trap of other Liga F teams of, we've just gotten thumped by Barcelona, because that's what Barcelona do. So I think it's just the consistency for Real, not just against Barca, but within Liga F. So yes, they have, and no, they haven't at the same time.
Is there going to come a time, do you think, Ali, when Real Madrid finally get that victory? Because their recent record over Barcelona has been poor, albeit Barca were at the top of the game. And now, as Sophie's saying, Real Madrid are closing the gap slowly but surely. Is that time this weekend, or might it still be a bit of a wait before they get that win?
Well, it may not be this weekend, but the time is coming. Real Madrid is investing in players. Real Madrid is investing in the women's game. And when you invest money as a club, and Real Madrid are doing that right now, then, of course, because of your name, you're going to start attracting some of that top talent. And you think of some of the players that they have available right now, and Linda Caicedo, who for me, outside of Aitana Bonmatí, for me was my most favorite player in the Women's World Cup. Look, you're starting to see that the gap is closing, not because Barcelona is coming back to the pack, but because, quite frankly, they couldn't. It's hard to be much better than Barcelona have been. But I do think that there is now a sense of responsibility for a club like Real Madrid to say, okay, you know what? We don't like this whole idea of Barcelona Femení completely dominating the game. We got to do something about it. And the way that you do something about it, yes, is with training and preparation, but you also need the talent and the personnel available in order to be able to compete with a top-level team like Barcelona. And you're seeing some of that investment happening. And by the way, Barcelona fans may not see it this way, but truth be told, it's best for the women's game that Real Madrid actually closes this gap and that they push each other and they push the profile of the women's game to a higher level than what it is right now.
It's a good point that Ali makes, Sophie, because he's spoken about Linda Caicedo, the Colombian. Caroline Weir, very talented Scottish player who, sadly for her, is out injured right now. But these are players that have gone to Real Madrid. They might have had options to go elsewhere. Is this something we're now seeing, that Real Madrid are a contender, not just to get the better of Barcelona for some players, but for some of the best players in the world to decide, you know what, I want to go to Real Madrid rather than elsewhere?
Absolutely. I think in Real Madrid's sort of first season, when they were still Tacon and that sort of handover that's a little bit fuzzy, you know, they made a huge statement with some of the players they brought in. They signed Kosovadi Aslani, and she spoke at sort of length about the opportunity and the growth and how excited she was as a Real Madrid fan growing up as well to get to play for that team. And we've seen it, you know, they've got a real good mix of players, not just signed from within Spain, but as Ali points out, you know, Linda Caicedo, Naomi Feller is a really good young French player they've got in the books. They're building in the way that you expect them to be building, and it does help, and it does give players more opportunities. And, you know, instead of now just going to a Lyon or a Wolfsburg or a Chelsea, you can throw in Real Madrid, you can throw in the option of going to Spain, because you can see these leagues getting stronger and it getting tougher, and then those teams at the top still needing to invest, still need to find those great homegrown talents. Mm-hmm. As well as sort of the established international players. So it's a better ecosystem, and it does just create more opportunities for players from around the world. And I think to Ali's point, I think it was there's something up on the site from Sam Marsden, who of course is over in Barcelona. He's been talking to some of the Barcelona players ahead of the Clasico, and they're saying it's great for the league. You know, they want a good, strong, competitive Clasico. They want a good, strong league. So it's just good news for everyone, really.
Finally, Ali, it's normally about 5,000, which is decent, that watched the games in Barcelona at the Johan Cruyff Arena. But this weekend, on Sunday, 12 p.m. local time, 6 p.m. on the east coast of the United States, more than 30,000 expected at Montjuic. So again, like Real Madrid closing the gap on Barcelona, we are seeing a steady rise in attendances for the women's game. And when you consider their recent success at the World Cup, it's another good news story for the women's game in Spain, Ali.
Absolutely. And again, elevating the profile of the women's game, I don't know that Real Madrid takes this as a responsibility. I just think that they want to be competitive with Barcelona. But in doing that, sort of the side action that perhaps you don't see when you're watching the game is the fact that, and a side story, if you will, but an important side story, is the fact that if Real Madrid is competitive with Barcelona in whatever sport, that is going to elevate the profile, and in this case, of the women's game. What's important, though, is that it's not just Real Madrid and Barcelona. What's important is that the core of this league also gets stronger and also gets to a point to where they can be competitive. Perhaps not at the European level, but at the very least that you're making the totality of the league stronger. But at the very top of that league, if you have Barcelona and you have Real Madrid and they're competing and they're investing in the game, that's only going to force everybody else to try to do the same. And I think it does trickle down to everybody in the league and makes the women's game a whole lot more successful. You cannot get any more successful than Spain. You just won the Women's World Cup. Barcelona, a Spanish team, just won the Champions League. And so you see where the trend is going, but this is not something in which the answers are simple and straightforward. These are things that take time. Barcelona has been leading this league and sort of been the bosses of everything that has been going on in the women's game in Spain. Real Madrid is trying to close that gap. And again, I think everybody benefits from that happening.
Okay, a late penalty separated the two sides the last time they met back in March in the 77th minute in Barcelona's favour. The pressure of the prediction falls on Sophie's shoulders ahead of Sunday. What you got and what do you reckon will happen in this one, Sophie?
Oh dear. Real Madrid always show up with their best football when it's Barcelona, when it's the toughest games. I think that's when we see the best from them sometimes. Judging by what's happened this season, you know, they're very close against Villarreal, very close against Eibar, lost to Levante. They haven't been at their best, and we did mention Caroline Weir's ACL. That is a massive blow for this team. So I think, especially away from home, it's going to be a Barcelona win, whether it will be a sort of another 4-0 us or just another close one. You know, I think Rafa's penalty, as you just mentioned, that was all that separated them last time. Not sure if it's going to be a close one, if it's going to be wide open. We have seen good stuff from Real this season. We've seen bad stuff. So, yeah, I think Barcelona again, but just still growth for Real, and they'll get there eventually.
Okay, my thanks to Sophie and to Rob and to Ali as well, who's already preparing for that big game for the Vino Tinto in Peru in midweek. A win there, Ali, and that's pretty much it, sealed. That's it. It's World Cup qualification, isn't it?
No, it's not. Calm down, everybody. Calm down.
Okay.
We're going to take it game by game. But again, if we keep let's just put it this way. If we keep ourselves ahead of Brazil, we're probably going to the World Cup.
Well, enjoy that game. Sophie, enjoy the Clasico on Sunday, and I hope Rob enjoys going to Stockport this weekend as well. Wherever you're going, if you are going to a game, enjoy it. ESPN FC Live is back. It's on 3 times a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. We'll do it all again on Tuesday. Enjoy your weekend. Bye.